one of the things that I've always liked is having deep one-on-one connection. And the only way to go into that, given the dissociative nature of many neighborhoods, it's certainly my neighborhood, like, after 10 years even making an effort, I hardly know any neighbors and, there's no intimacy there, etc. The model is go to groups in order to meet people and then dive deeper with specific people who are open to diving deeper in a culture that is afraid of depth, that in some ways measures social health by shallowness. If you can be casual, shallow, and flippant, you're considered healthier in our culture than if you have a proclivity towards intensity and depth. And so trying to meet someone to go deep in groups that seemed kind of predisposed to be shallow. There was never, ever, I don't think I've ever been to a group that said, go deep with one person. But I've been to many groups that said, mingle, go around and mingle. Don't spend too much time with one person. In other words, the exact opposite of what I'm interested in. And so I also noticed that I would go to singles events and leave the singles events without connecting with anyone that was strongly interested in growth, depth, etc., and without any deep one-on-one time. So since the doorway into deep one-on-one was through groups, and the groups were facilitating shallowness rather than depth and intensity, I decided to host several groups. And so the Marin Conscious Relationship Practice, the Marin Healthy Relationship Practice was one of them. And I did a group on having great endings for a relationship. I had several groups on high-value invitations. I had a group on peak experiences, on the art of appreciation, on the art of negotiation. And so, I had cuddle parties and bedtime stories, and a sex party for highly sensitive people. So I hosted a group for a couple of years in response to the fact that, if it's not there, host the group that I want to attend, I guess was the basis. The sex party for highly sensitive people was for my partner at the time, who said she'd like to go to a sex party, just not any of the sex parties that she had been to. And she wanted a sex party for sensitive people. And so I organized that to facilitate that experience for her. And so in the group dynamic, the positive thing was I enjoyed the design of the group. I enjoyed seeing things happen that weren't happening in other groups. I was delighted when my group on high-value invitations saw a group of 12 strangers come together and each walk out of the door with a peak experience planned with another member of the group, overcoming the exact opposite experience where, half the people I was talking with are new, or half the singles events that I would go to, I would leave them not having a single useful plan, that was interesting, for me to pursue. And so I thought, they're a complete waste of time because I'm going there to come out of there with a plan to meet someone, and that's not happening the majority of the time, which means the majority of the time I feel my time is wasted in an overcrowded, overloud, overstimulating environment. Now, in my groups, by contrast, everyone leaves with an interaction planned of a meaningful nature with someone else in the group. So I love that. However, I resented the fact that the way the culture honors group leadership and formation is very much you prove it to me, you make it good, you make the group interesting, and I might show up. I would say that that's a very typical San Francisco Bay Area attitude. I might show up if you make it interesting enough for me. But there's no reciprocation in that to I am going to make it worth your while to lead a fabulous group for me. And so there's an asymmetry there that drains group leaders. And I was aware of that before starting a group. I didn't find an easy way around it. And so after a couple of years, I noted that I was spending more energy considerably than the amount of value that I was deriving. And that's when I started pivoting towards the travel strategy as opposed to, the create my own group type of strategy, which I outline in the travel section of this growth circle.